Hello?
Hello.
All right. I was having trouble with my audio.
All right, good luck.
Again, how are you?
Nice. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
you can proceed with the preamble.
Okay, in compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the city planning department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activities being recorded by way of the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed by way of YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter by way of our website and email have been considered. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Mr. Jacobson?
Mr. Chairman, this is Dan Jacobson from the Law Department. Preliminary issues, the live stream. Can we verify that the live stream is on and functioning?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, as the Law Department has done since these public meetings have gone virtual and or hybrid, law states its objection to the use of the chat function. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Davis?
Mr. Bradley,
Here.
Mr. Maschke,
Here.
Mr. Dink,
Here.
Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we're going to proceed with docket A 40423, adjudication docket.
Application and fees are in order. This is an adjudication order to the Ohio Building Codes. Present for the hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing. Dan Jacobson, Law. With the owners or his or her representative, please state your name for the record. Yeah, that's it.
Ms. Davis,
Yes.
Lieutenant Alexiak will need to be sworn in on this as well.
Okay. Melissa, are you present?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to need to recuse myself from this docket.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dank.
Yes, I am here. Also, Tom Einhaus from Playhouse Square and Scott Sustar from the Dank Engineering are also on the line for this.
Okay, and your name?
Melissa Spires with Berardi Partners.
Okay. Hi, Ms. Spires, and all those that are given testimony that you named, I'm going to swear you in. Please raise your right hand.
Mr. Gallagher, do we prioritize counsel still?
Who is this? Oh,
Councilman Harsh,
right.
I have a brief
Councilman,
issue and I'd like to get out of your way.
Yeah, Councilman, we're going to have to wait through 3 cases before we get to you. And then we'll put you up first one off after that.
Okay, I'll come
Okay,
back.
so we're going through the last 3 cases that you'll see there, okay?
All right,
and then we'll
thanks.
call you up. And remind me if I slip up. Thank you.
What is his docket number? What docket number are you here from, Ms. Councilman Arch?
Yeah, I'll tell you that is, it is docket
7623.
176-23.
Okay.
So noted.
Thanks.
Okay, again, we're gonna solemnly swear, in the appellants, solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all those giving testimony, there we go. Go ahead and, I guess, Ms. Spears, you're gonna start it off?
Actually, Tom is going to start off.
Okay,
And can you hear me okay?
we can.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. My name is Tom Einhaus. I'm the Vice President of Facilities and Capital for Playhouse Square Foundation. I've been in this position for 43 years and have overseen a majority, if not all, of the restorations throughout the center. I just want to give a little background on this project. The Bulkley building sits pretty central in the Playhouse Square owned properties. Playhouse Square owns the properties from 17th to 13th, with the exception of the United Way building, Keith building, and likewise going back towards Chester Avenue, with the exception of the Middow building. We have worked collectively on the theater project, which the
I'm sorry, sir. Give me 1 second. Everyone else needs to mute their microphones. We are getting too much background feed during his testimony. So until your docket is called, please mute your phones. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. At any rate, just giving you the context of Playhouse Square's involvement and ownership. The Bulkley building, which is in, I believe, the pink color in the middle of the illustration on the first page that Melissa is currently showing. That building is intricately tied to the Allen Theater, Idea Center, and the balance of the theaters. And it's all under one common ownership. Again, with the exception of the Violet building on the corner, which is the Keith building. We're currently in a total renovation of this building to include pretty much new infrastructure from the second floor to the roof, and the facade restoration, which will go on for the next several years, which includes a complete rebuild of the cornice on the facade and the reattachment and securing of all the other limestone pieces. In the building, we are replacing all of the elevators, including the inclusion of a gurney-sized elevator to support residential, plumbing, electrical, all of those distributions through the building will be essentially new again above the third floor. We are doing the facade, the elevators. We're bringing in a tenant named Dixon Eaton on the top 2 floors, with the 8th floor being primarily their offices and the 9th floor with some conferencing. The residential project includes 84 units of residential. The building was hit very hard by COVID. We went from about 90% occupancy down to about 27% occupancy. So we've really had to rethink this building and what can we do to keep it viable into the future. Hence our development of residential, which I believe is happening quite a bit in the Cleveland market. So we have, again, 84 units, 30 some of those units will be used by performers, visiting performers, and the balance will be market rate tenancy. Melissa, anything else that I may have skipped over? Our team real quick. I want to introduce our team on the residential project. And for the overall building architecture of any projects happening right now, we are working with Berardi Partners, and Melissa Spires is representing us on that. And for all of the mechanical work through the building, as they've been also put on the team doing the Dixon Eaton project, we are working with Denkin Associates, and Scott Sustar is representing us on that. So that completes my introduction, if there are any questions.
Any questions? Okay, proceed.
All right, I think Scott is going to speak on the adjudication.
Can I have I'm sorry, one more comment. Playhouse Square is an institutional owner. We're a long-term owner. We will probably never sell the Bulkley building because it's too integrated with the theaters, and we are taking a 100-year perspective on our ownership. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I don't know. I know Scott's on the line, but I can go ahead and jump into this. We did submit an adjudication letter for this. Sorry, find my notes. All right. So there are 6 points that were on our review letter. I'd like to just go through each one individually. The first point, well, as an introduction, sorry, to the adjudication. So the Bulkley building is partially sprinklered currently. But so in our project, we are doing a change of use from office to residential. So we are fully sprinklering the building. We've been in front of you guys before for a couple of areas that will be sprinklered at a later date. So we have an existing variance on some existing tenants that we are not going to sprinkler at this time. We have no issues with sprinklering the building. We are going to do that. We are moving forward with that as we speak. This variance is for the fire line going into the building. The adjacent Lowe's building has a fire line, an 8-inch fire line that comes off of Euclid Avenue. That the Bulkley building is currently served off of that line, and we are proposing to keep that condition for the balance of the building. So that is what we have submitted. The drawing that you see here on the right side shows the existing line coming into the Lowe's building, and the tap. But we are providing a new tap so that the service would come off of the line before it is serving the Lowe's building. So there would be 2 separate services just using the same tap. And then it would go directly into the Bulkley building and travel through the Bulkley building to our own fire pump. So it's a completely separate system. They are not tied together in any way except for the tap at the street. So we are proposing that this is not in violation of any building code. It is just the tap to the street that is being shared by the 2 buildings. So I would like to go back to the 6 variance points. Sorry, I was hoping Scott would be on here because these are his points to review. Looks like he's having some technical difficulties.
I am on here, Melissa.
Oh, there you are. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, just for some clarity as we continue, this is Tom Vanover, Chief Building Official.
Go ahead.
The appellants have made the statement that they do not believe that there's any violations of the building code, and then are preparing to go through the variance points. First, I would like clarity on which argument they're making. It's either this is not a violation or they're requesting a variance. And if they're attesting that it is not a violation of the building code, I would ask that Lieutenant Alexiak be able to respond to that assertion.
I would say I'd like that was kind of a broad statement and maybe an overarching statement. We would like to go through each point and discuss them individually as to whether, they are that we are in compliance or not.
Okay, and this, Mr. Scott is going to be doing this?
Yes, Scott has the bulk of this.
Okay, so
Yes.
I don't know if you were sworn in, were you?
Yes, I was.
You
Yes, I
were,
was.
okay. All right, we'll let you proceed and then we'll go to Lieutenant Alexiak. Go ahead and give your points.
Yeah, so just to concur with what Mr. Vanover was saying, based on the adjudication notice and the 6 items of point, this permit application was specifically separated from the main building to address this particular issue, which is the reuse of this existing fire service line to continue feeding the Bulkley building. It is our view that based on the items that were cited in the code on the adjudication, that none of those items cited explicitly prohibit us from continuing this use, nor does it explicitly prohibit multiple buildings from being fed from one fire service line. So what we'd like to do is go through each of those items and try to reach a consensus on that, if that makes sense.
Okay, go. Just to that opening statement, Lieutenant Alexiak, do you have an opinion on that? Or do you want to wait?
I'll make a quick statement if you don't mind. Mr. Gallagher, it's Lieutenant Alexiak, Division of Fire. I'm the Fire Planes Examiner for this project. The statement's being made that this is going to be separate systems for separate buildings. That the fire line is already serving that building. I would just like to clarify that the Cleveland Water Department, their construction installation standard, and the Division of Fire have always advocated and clarified that each building should have its own fire line so that it may feed that building. There are multiple issues which I won't go down that rabbit hole on, but the fundamental issue is, the point being is you don't want one fire line feeding 2 buildings, let alone multiple buildings, because you set yourself up for failure by having one point of failure for multiple buildings. Furthermore, the Division of Water, as well as the Division of Fire, have well over 50 years of history and premise as to why we don't do that, just from a ownership separation as well as maintenance standards. Just for example, if we have to shut the fire line down, or if the utility has to shut the fire line down for water freeze up, maintenance, whatever the case may be, we now have multiple facilities that have to be evacuated. And we're talking about a high-rise building on Euclid Avenue. As a fire plans examiner, just from the standpoint, without even going into the life safety risks involved for a residential high-rise, just from the maintenance standpoint, it's not, what's the word I'm looking for? Prudent. It wouldn't be prudent. But with that, I'll let them move forward and argue what their points are. I realize it was stated also that Playhouse Square is the overall ownership for all of the buildings. That's fine. Or as a plans examiner, I'm being told that multiple times, but as a plans examiner, when I'm examining the plans are showing separate buildings on separate parcels. Therefore, answer to that, clarify that, and we can move forward.
Okay, and what you're referring to, I believe, is not the main that's in the street, we don't need multiple mains, but those taps that are coming off of it have to be separate for each building. Is that what you're saying, Lieutenant?
That is correct.
Okay.
At this time, as it was, stated earlier, just to help to support that clarification, the current fire line is tapped in the street and feeds the Lowe's building next door. Once it comes inside of the Lowe's building, it branches off to additional areas. And that is what they're proposing to do, is they want to tap that fire line that's already inside of the Lowe's building and use it for the bulk lead. Now, if they're going to do that, there is a path for doing that. It's called alternatively engineered design, or going through the NFPA, a performance design based design system. If they're going to do that, then they have to follow that process, showing the engineer and calculations behind it that justify it.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and proceed with what you were going to do there.
Yeah, and not to keep going down this rabbit hole, but we have no issue trying to proceed down that path of a performance-based or alternatively engineered system. But in order to do that, we need to get past this first hurdle in order to make that happen. Also, just I lost the meeting for a brief second due to some Wi-Fi issues, but these buildings, this collection of buildings in this Playhouse Square district, they're not just served by one fire main, they're served by two fire mains, one off of Chester, one off of Euclid. And those lines are interconnected to each other. These collection of buildings have been served off the same shared fire lines for well over 40 years. And throughout all the renovations, there haven't been any objections to that scenario. So
I object.
what we're proposing is just a continued use.
Mr. Chair, I object that there haven't been any objections to that scenario. Without having all the review documents from all the renovations prior to this, I know for a fact that this has been an issue that's come up before. So I object, just for the record, that there have not been any objections to that. This is multiple buildings on multiple parcels. There was a business decision made not to consolidate the parcels and not to consider it as one building. There are other issues that are not before this board currently, where the multiple parcels and building across property lines are called into question as far as the plan review. Again, this is a business decision. Mr. Einhaus in his opening statement said that the Playhouse Square will probably never sell the Buckley building or transfer ownership of the Buckley building. So again, I object to that statement, and then you can continue.
May I respond to that?
Who is this?
This is Tom Einhaus, Playhouse Square's representative.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Apologize there, I put my camera on. The business decision was based on the acquisition of the properties over time. So at one time when we were doing the original renovations on the state and Ohio theaters, the county owned those buildings. The county no longer owns those buildings, and Playhouse Square is the sole owner of all of those properties and related access points through the Bulkley and into the Idea Center building. Perhaps the use of the words probably was a bit erroneous, because the theaters are totally interlinked with the Bulkley building and into the Idea Center. So I'm going to put myself on record as saying never going to be sold.
Okay.
And they are now all one ownership, which can easily be proven.
Okay. So we continue on with Mr. Austin.
Yeah, so the first item, number one, cites OBC section 106, 913.1, NFPA 20, equipment access. OBC 106, specifically in reference to construction documents and providing enough information on the documents. NFPA 913.1 states that fire pumps shall be installed per this section, and NFPA 20, which I think what the building department is doing is establishing the direct link between OBC and NFPA 20, which we agree with. But NFPA 2412.2, equipment access, this section specifically applies to the access to the fire pump. There's no reference to a water service line. The location of the fire pump is accessible and protected as discussed with the Cleveland Building and Housing. No notice of non-conformance adjudication has been previously issued with respect to the fire pump location. So we don't feel that there's any specific area of non-conformance in that section with respect to utilizing this shared fire service line.
Okay, I don't know.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
to that point, so my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the fire service line comes into the building and then goes to the fire pump, and then from there goes into the Buckley building?
Yeah, the fire service line would enter into the Lowe's building, and then
Okay.
it would travel across the ceiling of the basement in the Bulkley building to the fire pump room.
So, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Suster, is the Lowe's building, is it a separate building as required by the building code? We keep calling these different buildings. I'm not convinced that that is accurate, in that they would require fire separations or complete separation, structural independence from one to the other. But so I'm asking the question, is the Lowe's building a separate building under the definition of separate buildings under the building code?
Melissa might be able to answer that better, but I believe they are completely separate buildings.
I believe they are structurally
The definition.
separate. You can see in this plan, the separation between the two, the vertical wall there, and there are doors between them. I don't know that the doors are currently holding the correct rating. I know that is something that we looked at in our replacing those in our project to maintain the required rating between the buildings. But I do think they are structurally separate because the drawings that we have looked at for the original construction of the Bulkley building did not have any reference to what was going on structurally in the Lowe's building.
So, Mr. Chairman, for the record, I will state that either they're separate buildings or they're not. The building code is pretty clear on what makes a separate building a separate building. For the purpose of this discussion, I'm going to assume, because this is what the designers are telling me, that they are separate buildings. Our purpose, and we can go through all of the items, but I want to begin with the fact that the fire line does not go into the building it is serving. And again, I will object to, there's never been an adjudication order on it, because we don't know that that is accurate. However, there is a change of use, and it's a substantial change of use where the risk increases because the new use of the Buckley building is residential, is primarily permanent in nature, but there are people sleeping in this. And so the risk category of an R use from the previous B use is an increase in risk. The main point of all of this is the fact that the fire service line for the Buckley building does not come into the Buckley building. And while I respect Mr. Einhaus's, we are never going to sell it. I understand that, but what happens and what we see, it's just reality. What happens is that there becomes a historic grant available if a specific nonprofit owns a building and titles get transferred, and maybe they're just paper transfers, or maybe there's some other reason why this section or portion or building should be owned by some other party. And it happens. We see it hundreds of times a year, especially with historic tax credits and other service credits. There are no deed restrictions, to my knowledge, that prohibit the sale of one building without the sale of every building. There are no consolidations in place to consolidate all the parcels or to treat this as one building. So the reality is, has been historic throughout, the city and through the water department's requirements and this specific section of the building code, where the fire line comes into the fire pump and the fire pump and the fire line are in somebody else's building, although they're commonly owned now, which is another point that I don't have all the documentation, but I'm assuming that Playhouse Square Incorporated is the owner, that there's not separate entities dividing it up. I think we looked into some of those things. The reality is that it can be sold, it can be transferred, and our responsibility, because of the increase in risk, is not to review, is to review to the code, because the code understands that when you have a separate building on a separate parcel that owns your fire line, there's a possibility that someday you don't own your fire line. And that's what we are required to review to. So that I just want to make that point, that meets the code. The code does require you to have access to your fire line and to your fire pump. And when it is in another building on another parcel, that access is restricted. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Vanover, I'm wondering if there is a way that we can accept what they're saying and presenting, and that if the buildings become split or they become sold, or for some reason something changes, that cannot happen without prior approval from fire on a split or a sale. Can language be put in there to keep that from happening?
Mr. Chairman, we do not typically require, well, the law does not require a plan review on the transfer of buildings necessarily. And to your point, however, it may be possible, but the appellants have presented that the code requirements in the adjudication order are in their design is not contrary to the code. And my responsibility as the building official is to present to this board how their statement is inaccurate and that it is contrary to the code. So for each of the items as explained, we will ask that the board uphold the adjudication order and the decision of the building official as properly issued. And then if the board if they request it, which I don't believe, I'm not sure they even have requested a variance or some other alternative at this point. But they've presented that their design is code compliant, and our responsibility is to explain to the board why it is not.
Okay.
I think Mr. Maskey has a question.
Who has the question?
Have my hand up?
Okay, Mr. Reinhaus.
Oh, Mr. Einhausen.
Yep. To Mr. Vanover's point regarding consolidation as one building, if we are able to provide legal documentation and create a consolidation of that building, and considering also that the tie-in point for this fire line is well before the fire pump. So it's not as though one would be attempting to control a fire pump for the Bulkley building from the Lowe's building. It's just an entirely separate feed. So those 2 points, if we were able to consolidate these legally and even go so far as to put into our legal documentation that should these buildings ever be separated into separate ownerships for any reason whatsoever, it's incumbent upon the purchaser to make that necessary separation. I'd like to propose that. And I'd also like to point out that doing this is going to be very impactful in the right of way because a large trench will need to be dug and we'll have to go through significant infrastructure to get into the building. So this is a big deal on a lot of fronts, besides just getting a line from one place to the other. It'll be very, very disruptive to a lot of things. So I put all that out there for further consideration. Thank you.
Okay, let's proceed on then with each point so that we can.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Ian Jacobson from Law, if we could just clarify the ownership of the Lowe's building and the ownership of the Berkeley building. I have a PSC Buckley Building LLC and Playhouse Square Foundation as two different distinct entities. Perhaps Mr. Einhaus could describe the business relationship between those two entities and clarify the title of ownership of the Buckley Building and the Lowe's building.
Mr. Einhaus?
Yes, thank you. Both of those entities are wholly owned by Playhouse Square Foundation. So Playhouse Square Foundation is the overriding umbrella on those. And those LLC arrangements had to do with the purchases at the time. I'm sorry, I can't speak. I can't represent Playhouse Square specifically on this issue because I didn't do those transactions. However, I could see real quickly if that person could join us, who's our legal counsel, while we continue with other.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know I think that the information provided, and that's what I was looking and didn't have that in front of me. So I understand that they are currently wholly, as stated, currently wholly owned by Playhouse Square, right? But this is the issue. Is the buildings currently are not owned by the same person, for the same party, the same body.
They are.
No, they're not. They have two separate LLCs that own them. Both of those LLCs just happen to be also currently today owned by a parent corporation. This in itself creates the problem. The expectation is that the leadership for each of the LLCs and the members are currently the same, but the reality is legally they do not have to be. So I would ask, and there was, I guess there was some confusion. Mr. Einhaus said that did you say that the fire line does not come into the Lowe's building?
Fire line comes into the Lowe's building. The tap into the fire line precedes any pumps. So that fire line would go consider if it was a Y connection, for instance, one line would go directly to a pump in the Buckley building. The other line would go directly to a pump in the Lowe's building.
Okay. And our adjudication order specifically in this item was regarding access to the fire pump. So you're saying that there is access to the fire pump in the Buckley building, from the Buckley building, and there's access to the fire pump in the Lowe's building from the Lowe's building.
That is correct.
Okay, well, I asked the question of how the line went in, and that's okay. So that being said, I will further attest in looking at the verbiage, specific verbiage of the adjudication order, the access to the fire line still must be independent. I don't know that, and I will look through the adjudication itself, but that's really our position, Mr. Chairman. Is that the fire line itself, there's got to be access to that. And I mean, we can find that. You can continue, but we would ask that each item as we go through, Mr. Chairman, that
Yes.
the board rules on whether or not it is code compliant or not code compliant.
Okay, I believe they are, at least in the opening, it sounded like they were requesting a variance, unless I got that wrong in the beginning, on whatever they're gonna be doing. Well, I'll let Mr. Suster continue and see where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, going back to that NFPA 20, that number one, that cited section specifically references access to the equipment, which would be the fire pump, and there is access to the fire pump. So we believe we are in compliance with number one because there is access to the fire pump and the equipment in the fire pump room.
Okay, are we agreed on that?
Mr. Chairman, if we could hear from Lieutenant Alexiak, Cleveland Fire, on that issue.
Lieutenant Alexiak, yeah, I've heard that point a couple times now, and I object to that for the record. There is an approved access to that fire pump room or fire line if it's in a separate building. That's the point that I say that in support of what the commissioner just stated. So the Division of Fire objects to that, the fact that we are not saying there is approved access. Approved access meaning approved by the fire official and the building official. So they may say they have access. I may technically be able to walk through a maze or some other means to get to it, but the Division of Fire is objecting to that fact. The fact that there is the fire pump, one of two fire pump rooms, which is a separate issue, but we're speaking of the fire pump room in the Lowe's building is not accessible if we're trying to get to it from a separate building because of what can happen in the future.
Well, and I just want to make, let's be clear. Based on what we're proposing here, everything that's in the Lowe's building and the theaters is off the table. The Bulkley building is no longer reliant on any of the fire pumps elsewhere. It is solely the new fire pump that will be installed at the rear with access from the exterior through a rated area right into the fire pump room. So I just want to be clear that based on what we're proposing here, we're segregating the Bulkley building from the rest of these systems that they're currently connected to, except for this 40-foot section of pipe from the main to the building.
Okay, so back to the main point, that's a great answer, and I would love to see that and review that, but we're arguing the point as to whether or not statement, you're code compliant. Point one is code compliant on the plans that were submitted. Plans that are submitted are showing a fire pump room in a separate building, and that's what I adjudicated, and therefore I object to the statement that they are, point one, as the plans stand right now, that they are code compliant, and I will still stand and say they are not. Division of Fire does not approve of fire pump rooms being in separate buildings as accessible.
So it sounds like that what you were requesting is that that NFPA 24-12-2 isn't being objected by fire. Okay, so they're saying that that still doesn't. What you're saying that it doesn't take it away. That's still an objection. So that's something that I don't know. That has to be talked through somehow.
Correct. Yeah. So, Mr. Suster, if you're saying you're going to consolidate the parcels and have one ownership, then respond with that answer 2.1, and therefore then you will be in compliance. But until you do that, you are not in compliance with equipment access or access to the fire pump room. That is approved by the Division of Fire. Again, you can say you have access, but what is proposed has to be approved by the Division of Fire, and the Division of Fire does not approve the access as it stands at this time.
And Mr. Chairman, to Lieutenant Alexiak, it's because that is also in a separate building?
That is correct.
So, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Suster, do you have plans of where these fire pumps are that you can present?
Yeah, it's indicated on this plan, but it was also previously submitted under the original building permit.
Well, I understand that, but we're in a hearing now, and the lieutenant is stating that the fire pump is in a separate building, and you're stating that it's not. So I would like to
I'm
present
not,
that.
I am not stating that the fire pump is not in a separate building. All I'm saying is that the location of the fire pump has been previously submitted and was not objected to during that plan review. So
Okay, so
if we look at this F200 sheet at the top of view 1, we can see where the plan indicates the exterior access, and the fire pump is just to the south of that. It is right on the border between the Bulkley building and one of the theater buildings.
Okay, through the chair, I was just told that the fire line comes in and then there is a Y or a T that goes to two separate fire pumps. One is in the Bulkley building and one is in the Lowe's building. Is that accurate or is that not accurate?
That is accurate. Well, no, one serves the Bulkley building, one
No,
serves.
that wasn't the question I asked, and that wasn't the question that's not how the answer was. Is it in the Bulkley building or is it not in the Bulkley building?
It is not in the Bulkley building.
So, Mr. Chairman, our position is that as separate buildings with separate ownerships, access is limited and not approved. And we would ask that you uphold the item as properly issued. Now, we can, and just for the purpose of everybody, we can go through each item and argue why the code reads the way it reads and why our position is, and we can argue our positions back and forth. But if this is going to end in a request for a variance or for some considerations to make this work, which I don't know that from our position, from the review and approval side, we believe that there is a path for approval. But as long as there's an objection to the code as cited, we will go through each item and we will argue why the code was properly cited. That's a decision of the appellant on how they want to do it. And what they want to put into that. So, Mr. Chairman, we would ask that you rule on this item that the fire pump for the Bulkley building is not in the Bulkley building, and therefore there is either currently or the possibility of limited access because they may not always control it. That's pretty standard design and building code language.
Mr. Eidhouse.
I just walked the site yesterday where the pump is. It's in the basement of the Bulkley building. It is not in the basement of the Lowe's building.
Yeah, it is not in the Lowe's building. It is in the basement of the Bulkley building that extends past the footprint of the upper portion of the Bulkley building. The vertical line that you see here right beside exterior access and heading down south on the page separates the Lowe's building from the Bulkley building. And the fire pump that we are providing for the Bulkley building is on the Bulkley building side of that wall. And the
30 feet into the building.
on the Lowe's side.
And it is completely accessible from the Bulkley building?
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going by, apparently.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be emphatic, but it's like, whoa, it's definitely the building.
Yeah,
I've been here for.
It's confusing, for sure.
Well, let me say what my problem, and probably the problem with even everybody that's going to respond here on the board, is that it seems to be we're sitting here, trying to figure this out when really when it comes before the board, we should have specifically. You should have a lot of this worked out with fire, with the city, as to how you're going to go. And if you need variances on something, then we bring that up. But we're sitting here arguing over design and things of that nature. And that's not really what we do as a board. Okay. We've been at this for over 45 minutes and we're not even getting past, number one. So I just wondering if we're premature with this meeting. and that you really need to sit down with fire and city and work this out so that you come before us with, okay, we're gonna need a variance on this, and this is accepted. And then the meeting goes fine, but we shouldn't be here looking over and going back and forth, almost trying to design this thing. That's not what we do here.
I do apologize. It does seem that way. And we did have a meeting with Tom and Lieutenant Lysiak in the building a few months ago. And I believe this is the fire pump location that we looked at when we were there. I think we went in the basement that day. I can't remember. But we had talked about providing direct access from the back alley straight into the fire pump room in the Bulkley basement. And I didn't think we were gonna have any issues with the fire pump location because we have previously discussed that. You know, we came here and we thought we were only talking about the fire line as it tied into the Lowe's building. We were not aware of any concerns with the fire pump location until this meeting. So I do apologize for that.
I'm about to lose a board member here within about 5 minutes or 6 minutes or so. And so I'm not sure we can get through everything that we need to get through and make those decisions with 3 board members.
Okay.
Is there any way we could bring this back in 2 weeks to you have a chance to go through a fire, make sure we have this set? I see Mr. Einhaus, you had your hand up.
Mr. Chairman, I would be in favor of moving this out, not to the next meeting, but the following meeting, to clarify these issues and let us establish the ownership issue, clarifies the specific location of the pump, etc. We have time to do that, and I would appreciate that time.
Okay, is there any objections to that?
I don't have any objections, Mr. Chairman. I believe the next calendared meeting is full already anyhow.
Okay. All right. So we'll reset it up through Carmella. We'll take care of that. And there will be no decision made today.
I appreciate it. And we'll continue to work on the situation in
Okay.
the building department. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we're going to open the next docket, which is A406-23.
Mr. Harris? Watch that court, please. Everyone that's coming up to give testimony, you can come up. Application and fees are in order. Notice of violation is, Mr. Chairman, you did call 408, correct?
I called 406.
406.
That way there, we still have fire here.
Yes, we still have fire in here. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a cease use order issued by the Division of Fire on December 18th of 2023. Appeal was heard December 19th, 2023. Present for today's hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing, Dan Jacobson, Law. Will the personnel from the Division of Fire please state their name for the record?
Captain Telvin, Fire Marshal.
And will the owners or his or her attorney or representative please state your name for the record?
Christopher Corrigan, attorney for 2222 St. Clair. Introduce yourself.
Michael Harris,
And your capacity?
just Vice President.
Okay, those giving testimony solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God.
I do.
We do.
Okay, then who's going to be giving testimony then?
Mr. Chairman, preliminarily, Tom Vanover, Chief Building Official, we would ask that the two cases before the board for this property, with providing there's no objection from the appellate, that they be heard together. And
No
if
objection.
if that is not acceptable, we would ask that the no permit violation notice be heard prior to the cease use, because the no permit violation notice from the Department of Building and Housing informs the cease use from the Division of Fire.
Okay.
We have no objection.
No objections. Okay. And we'll go ahead and we'll open, the fire council. We're okay with it. We can open both of these at the same time. Is that correct? That's
So
what
for
the ask
under
was.
docket, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
I said that's what the ask was from, Mr. Vanover.
No, sir, that was something different. So under docket 40823, it is cited for hazardous condition and no permit.
Okay. So if we bring them both up, that's going to get the no permit part of it into it. And I think that's what, Mr. Vanover either wants to hear that first or both of them, bring them both up. So let's, I guess we can, they're both the same building. We can bring them both up if there's no objection. Is that correct on both sides?
That is correct.
Okay, so we're opening also docket A 40823.
Did you swear him in, Mr. Chairman?
I did swear him in for docket
Okay.
A 40623. I can reset, if you have to read anything, or is it the same?
For under docket 40823, the violations is hazardous conditions and no permit, issued on December 17, 2023. And the appeal was heard on December 21st, 2023.
Okay, so let's just re-swear all the people in, and if there's somebody new, you can name them. But if there's nobody new in this process, solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God.
We do.
Okay, we're all covered. Okay, whoever going back to, Mr. Corrigan?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This has to do with a building that was that has been previously approved as a restaurant and lounge. There's a plan submitted and approved. There was an inspection done on approximately December 16th by Building and Housing and by the fire department. There were some code violations found. Most of these have been fixed. In fact, I would refer you to the certification and the affidavit signed by Mr. Vanover. All of these matters, we dispute whether or not that this was that there was actual imperil of immediate peril to life and property, as he has stated. There are 5 facts that he's put in here, all of which have been taken care of. And if when you look at the property, this is a restaurant and lounge, very well, generally well kept. The issues that have been cited by the members as to cleaning up and the storage of kerosene products has been taken care of already. They had gone through numerous inspections by other departments before, had not received any violation notices, or had not received any violation notices recently. It's my understanding the fire department had within the last 6 months had inspected them and not come up with any violation inspections. And they, so we would ask that number one, we'd ask that the stay be lifted. And then this really comes down to a dispute is now the city wants them to declare themselves as a nightclub, though besides the installation of a stage, their actual primary use has not changed. They still serve food. They are a lounge. They do have entertainment in there, but that's not every night. That's occasional that they'll have a singer come in and perform. But this is a restaurant slash, and then they obviously have alcohol service too. I've actually brought the plans that show that that the general outlay of the building has not changed in that time period. So we dispute that the occupancy, the permits have to change at this point. But we would be willing to work with the city on that issue, but we believe the primary use is still a restaurant at this time. One of the things that I would address too with the city as to the fire regulations is one of the things they said is that they did not have basically they did not have a alarm system, but that is not true. And I would say is even within the violations from the city, Mr. Vanover, in violation number 23, that there is even a mention of the alarm devices were obstructed by the doors. And basically we will address the issue with the doors obstructing the alarm system, but there is an alarm system in place. So, we dispute that issue. The other issue that we would dispute with the fire department is they say that we were not permitted to have the hookahs. They refer to the codified ordinance of 347-121. I've looked all over that neighborhood. I can't find any school playgrounds, a residential district. This is a commercial district, industrial district. I couldn't find any religious buildings, any schools, any playgrounds, anything anywhere near this building that would preclude them from allowing hookahs in the building. I don't think that there's a serious danger. And then the violations, there's a request that there be put a fire suppression system in. As a restaurant, there is not a requirement to have a fire suppression system installed. And so they maintain their primary use as a restaurant and lounge. And so we dispute the requirements to get permits to change of use, to the permits that require a new fire suppression system being put in. And we are willing to discuss maybe there are some smaller issues. There was an installation of rails and guards in violation number 22. And we're trying to figure out what exactly that is. That's under number 2, that there was an installation of rails and guards. We're not really sure what that one is. But going to the other part about number 2 in violation number 22 is the replacement of tables and chairs. In the plans approved by the city back in 2018, I believe it was, there were never tables and chairs put in the areas that I think that they're claiming that there was tables and chairs. There's tables and chairs around kind of a dance floor area. That was all approved by the city. And we do have I have a copy of the original plans brought there that were approved by the city here. It does not show that the tables and chairs in the area that I believe the city is going to claim there was tables and chairs. There's tables and chairs around the walls and kind of off and more to the sides. But that was all previously approved. Why the city is now changing its requirements is beyond us. And most of these issues are fixed. I can go through all of the issues that through the violations that have already been fixed. If you're inclined as to number 23.
Mr. Chairman, but I apologize. Can we go back to the other slide that shows the photographs of the space?
Underneath, document 406. Division of Fire submitted pictures.
That one?
Yes.
That one.
Is that it, Mr. Vanover?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. In going through number 23 at number 4, that says the presence of open electrical junction boxes, exposed wiring. It's my understanding that that's been fixed, and I believe there has been inspection by fire as to that at this point. The main electrical panel was primarily disassembled. It's my understanding that that has been fixed. Panels installed with a non-compliant closet. That is my understanding, that has been fixed. Going back to the top, I apologize. Going back to number 1, required emergency lighting fixtures are broken or inoperable. That has been fixed. And as about just discussed, there's alarm system. We were willing to take care of the door that basically hid one of the pole alarms. As to number 7, non-compliant disposable cooking materials, which I believe was kerosene materials. I believe those have all been taken care of, been removed from the property. So there's a few things that do have to get fixed that I think are minor, such as doors and other issues. But yeah, and we would ask for time to get those taken care of properly under the code. But you know, these are, I think, the main issues of the need to require permits and install things like fire suppression systems, I think is incorrect here. And I would ask that the stay be lifted by this board.
Okay, let me go to Mr. Vanover.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, so there's a lot to unpack there. So the Ohio Building Code establishes use of and occupancy under Chapter 3. It is important to understand that use and occupancy classification are not the same thing. While the legal use of this space is a sit-down Japanese restaurant with 88 seats and a karaoke lounge. It has been altered to become a strip club with council testified that it's occasionally there's entertainment. And our position is that's not true. The space has been altered to include a dancer stage with poles and rings, and that when the doors are open, there is live entertainment. There are dancers on the stage, where strippers, go-go dancers. Our understanding from the information provided is that they have, the dancers are there full time. It includes dancing on the stage. It includes dancing in the open area. It includes tableside dances. This is a strip club. This is not a Japanese restaurant. It has been changed considerably. And what's important is that the building code first establishes occupancy classification. In this case, it's an A2, where the primary function is the consumption of food and beverages. So restaurants fall within that classification. However, nightclubs also fall within that classification, where it's the same classification, but it is a different use. That is important because Section 1004 of the Ohio Building Code establishes occupant load based on its function, not its classification. In this case, this space, as you can see from the bottom left, there are not tables and chairs for the consumption of Japanese food. It is a nightclub for dancing, for entertainment. The primary function of this space is no longer the food. It was changed so that the primary function is the entertainment. That, under the building code, is considered a change of use and a change of the primary function. As such, the occupant load changes to where there's no longer 88 seats and 10 employees, which is what the certificate of occupancy allows. There is now standing room. There's a standing room at the bar. There's unconcentrated tables and chairs. As such, the tabular calculation of the occupant load is no longer 98 persons, but it is determined by the square footage And for standing room, that square footage is 5 square feet per person. This is not an occasional, somebody shows up to perform. This is a strip club. It is opened as a strip club. It is advertised as a strip club. Their Instagram and all of their social media advertise it as a strip club. That is the primary function of this space. As such, they no longer have the 88 seats for the consumption of food. The primary purpose is a nightclub, and it is for dancing and for entertainment and for strippers. And under 1004, the occupant load changes based on those calculations. When you go from a sit-down restaurant to a nightclub strip bar, the occupant load changes. And in this case, it exceeds, well, to back up, that alone requires a change of use under the building code. Although the occupancy classification stays the same, when the primary function and the number of occupants changes, it requires a plan approval under the Ohio Administrative Code. It requires inspections. In this particular case, based on the square footage allowable, based on the standing room, based on this design of a strip bar, the occupant load exceeds 100 persons. And as occupant load for an assembly use that exceeds 100 people, it will require fire suppression under Chapter 9 of the Building Code.
Okay, Mr. Vanover, there's no involvement of zoning in this, is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, this was, there was a zoning violation for the change of use as well, but that is not before this board.
Okay, and so your thing with the no permit is because a permit wasn't requested for what its use is that correct?
Yeah, they basically took a 98-person restaurant, that's what they submitted and what they received approval for, and turned it into a go-go bar that my fuzzy math, and we haven't done a plan review. I want to be clear. We haven't done a plan review. We haven't received a request for a plan review. We have received nothing to change the use, but simply doing the fuzzy math while I was present with the open space and with the removal of seats for dining, this occupant load, it well exceeds 350 people. As such, it is a hazard. It is a danger. It is no longer the indicia of the space based on the photographs provided. And then I have, and I apologize, I was tardy in doing so. I sent to Maurice, Mr. Ruins, and Ms. Davis additional photographs showing this is not a sit-down restaurant. This is a strip club with the expectation that there could be hundreds of people without a suppression system, without an automatic detection system. And as such, it is hazardous to the health, safety, and life of the persons inside. So we categorically object to the characterization of what this space is. We did not provide, I did not provide social media advertisements for this location. We'll be happy to do so. But it's a strip club. It's billed as a strip club, and the use as a strip club on its own is legal and approvable in sections of the city. However, it does require a plan approval and a permit and inspections and meet compliance with the code. They have not done that. So we object to the categorization that this is an occasional. I mean, if you can look at the picture and tell what it is. And during our inspection on the night that we conducted the inspection, my photographs also show that it is it's a strip club. So as such, we consider that a serious hazard because of the occupant load, the lack of suppression, the lack of detection. The photographs from the additional photographs show how well kept this space is. All of those violations can be corrected, but you can see that the disassembled electrical panel with a closet full of stuff impeding access. What you also can't see is that to the right of the picture, the photograph on the bottom right, the alarm panel is buried behind all of those contents. So the building code and the fire code all require access to the alarm panel. So the alarm panel we couldn't even get to it to determine its condition. We were aware that the manual alarm was impeded by a door, which is contrary to the code, and extremely dangerous in assembly uses. But to determine the status we weren't even able to access the alarm panel to determine the status of the panel. So we would ask that you find that the violation notice for the illegal use and no permit was properly issued. And I will allow the board members to speak on that specific issue.
Okay, let's get back to Mr.
If I may,
Corrigan.
Mr. Chair, I do dispute the statement. I mean, if there's a certain connotation between a strip club, and I would hope Mr. Vanover would agree with me that there is no nudity involved. I guess the proper term would be, yes, there have been showgirls in there. That stage is not a permanent structure that can be easily disassembled. There's never been never nudity in the club. There are women that will come in and dance, and I don't believe that the advertisements that Mr. Vanover would say anything as to strippers or anything like that. I think there's more of a term of, yes, there's girls that are going to be dressed in a certain manner, but there is not any type of adult entertainment or anything down that road being involved here. And he has said.
May I respond to that?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, so there was no zoning citation for adult entertainment. They are, so that's a zoning issue. That's not before this board. But I would ask Mr. Owens if he could pull up the email that I sent to show the photographs from the time. What constitutes adult entertainment and what does not is something that is highly debated in the way the ordinances are written, the way that the ordinance, the Ohio Revised Code is written, and case law all have differing definitions of adult entertainment. My point is that my point is that the categorization, I want to make sure that the board is clear on the categorization of showgirls, which is a planned, performed presentation of a show on a stage, and tableside dances and dancer poles and dancer rings. What the actual use is.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vanover, please make sure that you send that file to us for our records as well.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can
You're breaking
continue.
up.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yes.
I can continue with my points.
You can.
The other thing is he said is the replacement of the tables and chairs, but as I've said is the original plans as they were drawn and approved by the city and everything else is in the space that where the stage even is, there was never any tables and chairs actually in that space area. So there's not a difference as to what it was occupancy, really as to occupancy load. And I know what he's saying as to occupancy load under the code, but as to a change in the use of the space or really that stage being put in at that time, that is that did not change the tables and chairs. The tables, the approved plans don't have any difference as to the layout of that space from what it was, except that there is a stage that can be disassembled and probably within an hour and taken down. But you know, and so this, you know, I think we're fighting over some issues as to the show, you know, the stripper. This is not a strip club, as we would normally say. And as I say, this is, and I know what he's saying as to adult entertainment, but you know, these are, as I say, there's not technical nudity. Women can walk down the street if they want to. Nobody's going to say anything as to that's illegal or anything like that. You know, and you know, what is the appropriate amount of dress? Is that, yeah, we can debate that. And as he said, there's probably a lot of issues as to law as to what would constitute adult entertainment. But this is still a restaurant serving food and serving beverages as is primarily allowed. And as we've discussed, is that many of these issues are already being taken care of as to the actual safety issues. We believe all the safety issues have been resolved. And I don't believe that any of those or the safety issues were so great to actually keep the facility closed while we address the rest of those issues.
Well, I think there is a problem with the occupancy, how many people are coming into the place. That is a problem. So,
may I address that, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
As of right now, I don't think there has ever been any issue with it actually, with the number of people exceeding the occupancy permit. There's never been, we've never been cited for that.
Okay, so we're back to whether your claims of this, nothing has changed from when it was a Japanese restaurant. Conditions that are going to require fire alarms. You said you would correct that, but what about the sprinklers, automatic sprinkler systems and extinguishers?
There's not a need for a fire suppression system unless it turns into a full nightclub with the full occupancy load. And we're saying is that it's still, its primary use is still a restaurant.
Mr. Chairman, if we could hear from the fire marshal on that clarification.
As far as the alarm system, the alarm system that's in the building right now is a manual system, which is triggered by a pull station, which I couldn't find because it was behind a door. All right, it does have a couple of strobes in there that will go off if the pull station is full, but that means someone has to recognize there's a problem and pull the pull station. As far as safety, in the building, there are two exits, and they're both on the east side of the building. That picture that we had with the hookahs, the exit is right next to it. If you look at the hookah stand, there's things being heated there that could cause a fire right next to one of the primary emergency exits. With the change in the way the layout is and the amount of people that are able to come into the place, as Mr. Corrigan said, that's what elevates us to having an automatic system, which would have detection, smoke detectors or heat detectors that would set off an alarm or a strobe to allow people to evacuate. And with the amount of people that could be in the place, which also would trigger the sprinkler system, where that would be needed. Just due to the size of the place and how many people that we have in there, because obviously we're here to save lives. So hopefully that clears up the difference with the different alarm situation.
Mr. Chairman, my client would like to address those issues.
Okay. Go ahead.
About the sport.
The heat detectors and the heat.
Oh yeah, so but we do have heat detectors as well that go tied into our alarm system. So that's just
I didn't see any heat detectors in the floor. In the kitchen, you have a kitchen suppression system with a hood, and that is tagged properly and it's been commissioned. And there's no issue with your suppression system that's in the kitchen, but that is specific for the cooking area of the kitchen. It has nothing to do with the club side of it or the floor side of it.
I got you. And now I think it was in May, you guys did the same type of thing. You guys came in there like 1 a.m. and I don't know which lieutenant it was. I'm not sure. I think it was you. I'm not sure who it was, but they told me to make sure that we get all our stuff looked at by a licensed company to come in, and I did that the very next day.
Yeah,
and everything
your
was
suppression
compliant.
hood was.
So the
passed
suppression
properly.
system, the fire alarm, and everything was tested. New fire extinguishers, etc. And then we also have like I said, we have a heat detectors as well. So you said that if it was a fire, the only way we would know if somebody knew it. But if we had a fire, the heat detectors would sense that, wouldn't it?
When I was in your building, I saw 3 emergency lights. One was dangling from the wall. I saw, I believe, 3 strobes that would go off if the pool station is full, okay? And that's all I saw in your main floor. In the kitchen, it was set up for the kitchen. It has nothing to do with the floor.
We got heat detectors.
In the kitchen, the hood was tagged appropriately, and the extinguisher in the kitchen was tagged appropriately, all right? Your, the chief building officer who's doing a panel, what you have is more of not a panel, because a panel in the system would send a signal to the fire department. What you have is more of an operating module that's tucked away in that cluttered closet, that basically says that those devices are working, okay? And it doesn't have any monitoring or sends any signal to the monitoring station, third party, or the fire department.
That's not true.
It's not true.
When you go through the front door in the vestibule, we have a keypad right there, and that goes directly to the fire department.
That's a security
it's computing. Last Friday, 2 Fridays ago, the lieutenant that came there, my fire guy was there, and he showed him that it's communicating. He showed him the time it's communicating every 15 minutes.
Northeast Fire.
Yeah, Northeast Fire.
Northeast Fire on Vestibule.
Yeah, and he showed him that it was computing and that it was every 15 minutes it was corresponding, and he showed him that stuff. So I'm sure he took a note of it because he was there to tell us not that we couldn't, that the motion to stay wasn't in place is what he was there for. But since he was there, I said, you might as well just walk through and inspect the issues that we had. So I walked him into the panel where the panels was.
Do you have a report?
Well, he walked through and I walked him through it. I mean, the
Did you
lieutenant
sign up on a report saying things were in working condition? Because usually when they do that, they write a report and they state if things are working or not.
He was there for 5 hours, so we walked through the place twice and looked. I showed him the alarm system. I showed him the heat detectors.
But did he give you a report that stated those things passed any testing?
He said he wasn't there for that, but I was like, since you're here, let's just walk it so I can show you the things that I brought that I took care of that was in the violation.
Okay, well, if you could provide me with the report, I can look at, and
That's
I'll
fine.
gladly go over it, but without a report of what he actually did, it's just hearsay.
Do you want to address any other issues?
That's pretty much it. I mean, you already addressed most of everything.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, as I say, there are those few issues that we've cleaned up, and as I say, there has been reviews. At this point, we don't believe that there should be a stay. As to in the meantime, we can work out safety issues with the city as to getting those resolved. But we don't think through the appeal process there should be that this business who has employees that are not working because of this stay, that we should be allowed to lift this stay under this body's quasi judicial authority. And we're willing to talk to the city about what is the primary use going to be. But as to us is I even have pictures here that when this business first opened, where the stage was just basically kind of an open dance floor. There were no tables and chairs there. That's, to me, that creates for a bigger occupancy load if it's just that open space, which is what it was and what it was approved for. So, we think that there's not the safety hazard that the city is saying that, okay, because they've had some showgirls on a temporary stage, that this is going to create any type of danger. Or that there's any type of even more open standing space, as I heard from the commissioner. This, in fact, there's probably less space for standing room than what there was before that was previously approved.
And one more thing too, Mr. Vanover was saying that we're just a primary strip club, but we do bring entertainers as well. Like for the grand opening, we had Little Baby. In the past 6 months, we probably had about 15 different local national entertainers that came to the place, and you can look on the social media and you can actually see that. So it's not like we're just doing we have just dancers or anything like that. We do have actually like live international entertainment. I mean, that's what we're mostly known for.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How many people come to see these acts? Because obviously the national entertainment, you probably have to put quite a few people in the place
Yeah,
to
I'm not sure.
cover the costs. And how many show up for a show?
I'm not sure.
I'm sure it's not 88.
I don't know, but we pay admission tax too to the city, to the city as well. So we do pay admission tax. So
Well,
they-
my question is, as far as the sprinkler
That's
system
to
and
make
the
it
alarm
safe.
system.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Yeah, you're
I
packing them in
understand.
for a national act.
I understand.
You got 300-400 people in there, that's a hazard. And that's why we require you to get an automatic alarm and have it sprinkled.
Mr. Chairman, Lieutenant Alexiak from Division of Fire request, just to speak to, the appellant.
Yes.
That's okay. Just real quick, so whether it's the fire alarm system, smoke detection, the suppression, the occupant load, or the layout, this all goes back to what is this place? What are you defining this as according to the building code? Not in our own words, not in what we think it might work. It's all gonna come back to what are you defining it as for the building code? And from that point forward, I'm recommending you do that. So if you're gonna put a stage that goes through, that runs down the entire center of that occupancy, that is a significant hazard, whether it's temporary or permanent. That's a huge obstruction. You put 100 people in there, let alone 300, that is a hazard, okay? That's why I'm saying define it. Now, I'm not saying you can't do that, but if you are going to do that, there is a path for you to do that. The code provides that path for you to do that, okay? And that's what the Division of Fire would ask for you to do. And until you do that, until you do establish what you are doing, so that from that point forward, now you know whether or not you have to have suppression, the type of fire alarm system you're supposed to have. Whether it's manual, automatic.
If I can interrupt this for just a moment, what is paramount in all of these conversations, and Lieutenant Alexiak is 100% right, is the establishment of what the use is and what they're actually doing. And if I may ask a couple questions to the appellate or appellate counsel, well, beginning with just a question regarding the statement that he made. And the captain asked, how many people are attending these national acts?
It varies.
When Lil Baby came, how many people were there?
Probably about 120, 320, somewhere around there.
120 people showed up, and that's what you paid admissions tax on, was 120 people? So
no, that night we got raided. So we got raided. That was the opening night in the city, the liquor control, and same situation. They raided us that night. So we really didn't get a chance to make that much money. A lot of our events we get raided in, we don't get a chance to really even generate the money back. I remember we brought young Dolph one time, and Lieutenant Mike parked his car at the end of the driveway and didn't let anybody into the property. So I probably lost about 45 grand that night. So I don't know.
So you don't know how many people? Can I ask you, when these acts show up before police or before the folks show up, is it more than 88 people and 10 employees? How many employees? And to your counselors, there are employees. How many employees work on a night? So
15 to 20, but mostly security. So they usually outside. But that particular night I'm talking about, young Dolph, we didn't even have 25 people in the property because he didn't allow anybody into the property. So I lost about 45 grand that night.
So, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Harris, what is the name of this this restaurant?
It's called Playground.
Playground. Okay, so Mr. Chairman, again, and I apologize for the delay, for the tardiness. This can be classified as a restaurant with the occasional act. I just sent for a presentation to Mr. Ruins as well as Ms. Davis, their social media page, their Instagram page for Playground. Playground CLEV, Cleveland's #1 premier gentlemen's club, restaurant, and lounge.
Yeah.
2222 St. Clair Avenue. And then, of course, photographs of the activity. Unfortunately, I looked through the entire advertisements, as well as my photographs from the inspection in question. And there is no mention of the Japanese food, or and there was no established provisions for sit-down dining in the establishment. So this is their social media page, that it is not billed as a restaurant first. It is billed as a premier gentlemen's club. I want to restate my position, because this is oftentimes how these things get derailed. The Department of Building and Housing and the Division of Fire Marshal's office do not care what the people in the building are wearing. I'm going to restate that to make sure everybody hears it. We do not care what the people are wearing. What we care about is what the people are doing. And the categorization of a limited performance on a temporary stage is categorically false. It is just not true. This is full-time dancing on the stage, dancing at the tables, dancing with at the customers. What they're wearing is immaterial. The activity, however, changes the use from a sit-down restaurant to a nightclub, bar, strip club. And so that's really everything else that we've talked about. Obviously, the violations have to be corrected, but everything else we talked about hinges on the fact that it is no longer a sit-down restaurant. Their primary function is no longer the service of food. It is the live entertainment, the dance floor, and the dancers. That's everything that's billed. You can also see from their social media site, this limited activity is limited to, from what I've seen, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is more than half the week.
We've never been open 7 days a week ever since we opened in 2018.
Mr. Chairman, to that point, I'm not saying that they've been open 7 days. What I'm saying is that this is not the occasional Vegas showgirl showing up. When they are open, there are dancers on the floor, and you can scroll through these, and this is the landing page, and this is what we witnessed. This is what we witnessed during the inspection. The performers did not stop just because we were there.
Yeah, Mr. Vanover, what is your ask?
My ask is that you uphold the notice of violation as properly issued, that this use, as the way they are using this building, does require a plan approval and a permit, that you uphold the notice of violation issued by the Department of Building and Housing requiring a permit, and that you uphold the cease use from the Division of Fire until these approvals are made.
Board members, Mr. Dane.
If I may address that?
Well, I'll
Mr.
let you
Chairman?
speak in a moment. Yes. What, Ms. Davis?
No, I was letting you know that the attorney wanted to speak. Councilman.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'm going, Mr. Dane.
He's on for another day.
Mr. Chair, the open wired boxes and the like, a limited time to correct those deficiencies and have those approved, and to require the appellant to file plan occupancy in the space.
What about the cease use?
The cease use seems a little bit, the cease use, if occupancy is limited below the 100 people, I'm not in favor of a cease use. With the caveat, though, that the occupancy at all times is limited below the 100 people.
Mr. Maskey?
I can support Mr. Dank's recommendation.
Okay, Mr. Bradley?
Mr. Chairman,
I'm not familiar with any of those.
you have Councilman Starr who's raising his hand, and I believe he wanted to make a statement.
Okay.
He needs to be
Councilman-
sworn in as well.
Okay, Councilman Starr, solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do. Tell the truth.
Okay, go ahead, Councilman.
I know I'm on here for another document in my ward, on my ward, but just in context of everything, I do not know the owners or anyone that's representing the playground, but I do know for a fact the playground is a strip club. Now, I think one of the biggest things that the ownership should do is follow the right protocol to get the right permits in place so they can and operate the business the way they are. Some of the things that have been brought up today, I just want to speak on behalf of obviously the facts that it is a strip club. And if they don't have the permits or have things in place, then that means the city of Cleveland should do what's best to make sure that they have those things in place. And whatever you should do, I just wanted to make sure I just confirm, like I don't know why people act like people in the city of Cleveland, staff or residents don't know what's going on. If you're going to operate a certain type of establishment, just dot your I's, cross your T's, and you won't have this much issues. And I just want to confirm that I know for a fact that it is a strip club.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Councilman. Okay, so just
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
if I can respond to the board members' positions on this, we object to lifting the cease use categorically, and I need to make my record for our next appeal. So this use, assembly uses with the consumption of alcohol are the most dangerous uses. When those uses are increased by open floor space and loud music and the entertainment of this nature, where it's not confined to a singular performance on a stage, the inherent risk of that use is increased. So we do not support lifting the cease use until such a time that they can provide us with the documents. To the appellate's own testimony, there's been, well, they call it rated, whatever. This is not the first time this conversation has happened. We are now a month since the violation notice was issued. To my understanding, there's been no attempt to make application to correct this use. And I'm going to restate that this is a change in the primary function. Therefore, it constitutes a change of use under the Ohio Administrative Code. They have violated those provisions. I would ask that you uphold the no permit. And regarding the cease use, the inherent danger of what they're doing here, there's a reason that suppression and detection systems are required. The appellate can't tell us how many people are in there, which is convenient. But the risk of this use is extremely high. And we believe that it should not be allowed until application and approval is made through the Department of Building and Housing per the Ohio Administrative Code, because it places a hazard on the occupants.
Okay. So I'm going to try to put something together here. And Mr. Vanover, I do agree with you that, we want to uphold the notice for the no permit, and also to continue to cease use until the owners address these issues and submit in with the permit to correct these violations and get this done and call it what it really is. Motion so in order.
Dan, check, you're up. Dan, check, Mr. Chairman.
Wait till we get a motion in.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Maskey, second by Mr. Denk.
Miss-
So we have a, wait a minute, we got a motion. I'm gonna go ahead and allow him to question, that motion. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I believe that Mr. Dank's point was correct, and I think Mr. Vanover is, you know, they're trying to make a statement to keep this club closed for the purposes of this primary use, and really the cease use, though, when we look at it, and we've addressed the issues in his affidavit for the cease use, we've addressed those, and we're now putting people out of work. There was, you know, the stipulation that, okay, if it would be kept under the occupancy permit level, it would say that, you know, they're not saying that this. In fact, it was interesting to hear the lieutenant mention that, okay, there is a path to this, and so there is a path to this, which, okay, you know, you're saying that we could put this stage in, which does not, you know, which means that this can. The way it is set up now could technically be fine under just a different use permit. So I don't understand why we need to stay. You know, if we address this and keep it underneath the occupancy permit, why we cannot lift the stay, get people back to work, let this club operate with the certain stipulations. You know, he says that the tables of room. This was without the stage. This was the setup of this facility. And that was originally approved by the state of Cleveland. So I find it very hard to comprehend that suddenly you're going to say this place has suddenly become such a humongous danger because of that.
Here's one of the problems, and just to kind of answer that before we take the vote, is that across the country, we have seen disasters where we get a lot of people in an area like that, and they don't have, it wasn't set up like it should have been. And I think the first thing is that you can act quickly on getting this all changed over. And if you got issues and other things that you want to talk to fire about, that you don't have to do something a certain way, you can work with them with that so that you can get this cease use taken care of. But as of right now, we've got a motion on the floor. We've got a motion and a second, and we're going to take the vote on it. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to interrupt, but just to clarify, Lieutenant Alexiak wanted to address the board.
I can respond to the appellant if the board wants or needs. Commissioner Vanover, I defer to you.
No, I think it's important because we have to create a record. And Mr. Chairman, we're going to ask for an emergency resolution on this be issued today. As well. So yeah, Mr. Lieutenant, go ahead and speak to the path, the statement of there is a path.
Yeah, so with regards to a path, I'd like to just clarify what the appellant had stated that, it seems you have the impression that everything would be fine as it stands if we just did a couple of things. That's not the case. There is a path for you to get to compliance. How you are now is not compliant. You are creating you have a hazard. I would go so far as that electrical panel alone in that room is an imminent hazard. And that's speaking from my electrical background experience. But let's keep it on point to what you're saying. There's an imminent hazard here. Just the fact the way you have this established without the appropriate fire alarm system or suppression for the capacity for which it is designed right now. So let's be clear on this. This is a hazard right now. You've established that.
Yeah, and I think the board sees this.
Situation
reason,
established.
Mr. Talbot, I think that's the reason why we're ruling the way we are. We agree with you. And so I'm going to go ahead and get this motion taken, and you work with them, and the quicker they get this thing resolved, the faster they get it open. It's that simple. Go ahead and take the roll, Carmelo.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Maskey,
Yes.
Mr. Dink,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yes. Okay. You got your path forward. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, our next docket should be 17623. If Councilman Harsh is still.
With us? I
I'm
think he
here.
is. Okay.
Okay.
Alive, kicking.
All right, go ahead, we'll open the A 17623.
175, 23?
176.
76, sorry.
Application and fees are in order. Notice of violation is interior and exterior maintenance issued on July 13th of 2023. Appeal was received August 16th, 2023, requesting for 90 days to abate the violations. Present for the hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing, Dan Jacobson, Law. We also have council representation. Councilman, can you please state your name for the record?
Yeah, Chris
yes,
Hart,
Mr. Davis.
Ward 13.
Matthew Avens on behalf of the appellant Valentina Zawalowicz. I also have Alexander Zawalowicz, who's on the phone, who is power of attorney for his mother, Ms. Zawalowicz.
Okay, so all those giving testimony solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Evans, are you the one giving testimony?
I'm not. I'm just here representing the property owner and the POA, and ask the questions of Mr. Zawalowicz, if you'd like, or present our position, and then have you ask any questions of him.
Okay, before we start, Councilman, you want to speak now or after?
After.
Okay, go ahead and proceed then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. I did submit pictures belatedly to Ms. Davis yesterday. But my understanding is that of the violations that have been noticed, junction box has been covered. Runoff tubes for the water heater have been installed. A water heater exhaust was sealed at the chimney, and the 4 furnace filters have been replaced. We are in the process of trying to get the roof repaired, which would coincide with getting new gutters installed. We had made an effort to try to get high roofing siding and slates to perform that work. My client did make a down payment on it. They were then told that the roofing company wanted them to remove a branch that was overhanging the property. They did that. And then they were told that because of the pitch of the roofing company was not going to be able to do it. They're busy enough that they need this particular job. So at this point, Mr. Zawalowicz is in the process of trying to find a roofing company to get that roofing and gutter work done, which should correct the moisture in the basement and take care of any issues.
Okay, so we don't actually need a response from the Zalowitzes, right? So we just go to Mr. Vanover.
So, Mr. Chairman, so this, I apologize. I'm going to need just a little bit of catch-up time. This notice of violation was issued in August. Is that
July.
accurate? July, and the request, thank you, and the original, and the request was for 90 days. It appears that we've gone by that. What is the ask? What is the time frame until this can be completed?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vanover, if we, because of the weather right now, if we could have another 4 months, my client is apologetic for the delay in getting the roof done. He was not told until relatively recently that Ohio Roofing and Siding would not be able to do the work that they had contracted for. And Ms. Zawalowitz is 79 years old, is stage 4 cancer. So that's caused some of the delays. I said the POA was recently signed to allow her son to take a more active role in getting everything taken care of.
So, Mr. Chairman, to the appellate, is this a rental property?
It is. It was also under contract for sale, I believe in April or May of last year, and then the buyer backed out of that. So they are in the process also of trying to get the property sold so that Ms. Zawalowitz does not have to be concerned about it further.
So I wish you hadn't said that. So, Counselor, it's my responsibility to inform you that the sale of the property does not alleviate your client's responsibility to make the repairs that they have been rightfully cited for. It only removes their ability.
No, we understand. Just giving a broader context for it.
So that being said, I'm also cautious about issuing more time for a property that may not be repaired, only sold. Those things being said, if the ask is 120 days to repair the property, not to just disperse of the property. We do not object to 120 days to repair the property. We do object to any more time to sell the property because it does not solve the problems necessarily.
And if I may, there's no potential buyers lined up at this point. There's not under contract. So the client's intention is to get this property repaired in order to make it actually more marketable.
Okay,
I will
so,
defer to the councilman.
Councilman?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I've just a couple questions through the chair. It's listed as a 4-unit. Is it a duplex or a 4-unit? And regardless how many units there are, how many are occupied?
Go ahead, Mr.
I believe this is a 4-unit residence, Mr. Councilman, and Mr. Zawalowitz can answer more. Clearly, I believe 3 of the 4 are currently occupied and they've had no issues. The tenants have had no issues with the landlord.
Okay, but the Zawalowicz do not reside there. It is purely rental.
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, it's listed by the county as claiming an owner occupancy credit. And I would presume that'd be for the entire 7 years that the Zawalowicz have owned the property. And it's also the tax billing address is listed as the same, which usually indicates owner occupancy as well. So I'm just, when I first looked at this, I thought this was an owner occupancy situation. And I typically, encourage the city to be patient and as supportive as we can of our owner occupants who are in need of home repair. But it looks like this is sort of an improper collection of the owner occupancy credit. And the tax billing address has not been updated with the county. So I would fall in line with Commissioner Vanover's recommendation and not be supportive of issuing more time. It's an investment property. Investment properties come with investment costs. These are known to investors, and it's beholden to them to maintain their properties.
Thank you. Okay, so motion is in order for 120 days to be May 17th, 2024 to complete the violations. Motion? Moved by Mr. Bradley. Second by Mr. Dank.
Mr. Maskey,
Yes.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Dink,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yes. Okay, the notice will be sent out within 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Chairman, we
Yes.
still have Councilman Starr, and his docket number is 22523.
Okay, 22523. Let's get to that.
$225.23.
Okay, I got it. Before we call the docket, I believe we're going to be losing Mr. Maskey. So I will read this off just in case, but if we only have 3 board members, which means that if our decision is not unanimous, which it usually is, then your appeal goes back to the city. If for that reason you prefer not to have your case heard, then let me know when we call your case that you would like to reschedule your case. Okay, so go ahead and let's do docket A 22523.
Notice of violation is condemnation of the main structure, issued March 17th of 2020. Appeal was received September 12, 2023, requesting for 6 months to abate the violations. Present for the hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing, Dan Jacobson Law. We also have Councilman Richard Stark. Could you please state your name for the record, Councilman? Until we get maybe he's having technical issues. Would the appellant or his or her attorney or representative please state your name for the record? Tom, you have construction going on?
Yeah, but I need the address when you get a moment.
3447 East 51st.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I do not see Sandra Robinson in the participants panel.
Okay.
Unless they are one of the call-in users. You need to unmute your phone if you are Sandra Robinson.
*6.
Hit *6 to unmute your phone if you are one of the calling users on this docket.
I'm Sandra Robinson.
Okay.
Okay, solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead and proceed. Let us know what your plans are.
I plan on having everything complete by the summer of 2024, July. I had a few hardships with my past business and a few family issues with my mother being diagnosed with cancer, so everything really fell by the wayside. I'm not looking to get rid of the property. I'm looking to uphold all of the amenities and proceed with the fixing of this property.
Mr. Vanover?
Mr. Chairman, to the appellant, when did you take possession of this property?
I want to say last summer.
Okay, so we have a certificate of disclosure that is dated 12/31 of 2021, which is the first step of the transfer, and as such, and this document has a Brian French Jr. as the prospective buyer.
I bought it from him. I know it went through a few transfers, but that was the person I bought it from.
Okay. So there was not a more recent certificate of disclosure. So when you purchased the property, there was not a certificate of disclosure, which is required by law. Were you aware, which would have made you aware that the property was condemned?
Yes, I was aware.
At the time. So, Mr. Chairman, as I've stated many, many times, the condition of the property was not unknown to the purchaser. And there is and the condition of the property also informs the transaction of the sale of the property. This property, the city of Cleveland, the citizens of the city of Cleveland have paid to board this up in March of last year, January of last year, twice of 2023. I don't know specifically when this was transferred, but there's been issues with this property. As per usual, we don't object to more time, Mr. Chairman, but it doesn't feel as if there are the means to actually make the corrections required for this condemned structure.
So we can wrap that motion into requiring some strict guidelines that would remand it back to you if they weren't met. So we would know that she is serious and she does have the money to complete the to take care of the violations. Do you have the funds, Ms. Robinson, to take care of this, to abate the violations?
Yes, for now I just been getting all of our equipment because I started with the vinyl siding and it all got peeled off. So now I'm have to work from the inside out because I went about it the wrong way with starting the vinyl, having it ripped apart because of the people around there. So putting a security system up, and I've been keeping the grass cut and trying to keep that maintenance. But basically, I have been kind of trying to work from the inside out. So
Okay,
I do have the funds to begin.
Now, are you planning on renting this or are you going to be occupying it yourself?
I plan on renting it.
Okay. Okay, so Mr. Vanover, I could require that she gets the permits pulled within 2 weeks and then 180 days to July 17, 2024 to abate all the violations. Anywhere along the line, if she does not meet those requirements, then the property would be remanded back to the city.
Mr. Chairman, that would be February 1st for permits?
February 1st, 31st. Okay, February 1st, yes, 2024 to obtain the permits to do the work, and then to July 17th, 2024 to abate all the violations.
You said failure to,
Yes.
okay.
Right, then it would be
Failure to
remanded
meet.
back to the city.
On both,
Motion.
on either date,
What's that?
on either date, on the
The
permit
dates
date
are-
and the abatement, or just on the abatement date?
No, the February 1st, 2024 to require that she obtains the permits, all the permits required, and then July 17th, 2024 to abate all the violations. Motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dank,
Second.
second by Mr. Bradley.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Dink,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yes. Okay, a notice will be sent within 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we head back up to the top. Docket A 16723.
Are you gonna read off the address, Mr. Chairman?
I sure will. 11018 Lorraine Avenue.
Application and fees are in order. Notice of violation is hazardous conditions in interior and exterior maintenance. Issued July 31st of 2023. Appeal was received August 17th of 2023, requesting for 6 months to abate the violations. Present for the hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing, Dan Jacobson Law. Would the appellant or his or her attorney or representative please state your name for the record? Mr. Chairman, I do not see David Mason in the participant panel.
Okay, Mr. Vanover solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Jacobson?
Through the chairman to Ms. Davis, did notice of today's hearing get returned to the board's file for any reason?
To Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Jacobson, from the file reads by Ms. Bowens that the appellant stopped in on December 18th. I'm getting an update on their hearing date. They did acknowledge receiving the 2 regular postmarked mail and deny and would not sign the certified mail that was sent to their residence.
Through the board to Ms. Davis, is there a note on the returned certified mailing indicating vacant, unclaimed, or any such note?
Through the chairman to Mr. Jacobson, the United States Post Office did mark it as returned to sender unclaimed and unable to forward.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Through the chairman, or to the chairman, the due process requirement of notice has been given to this appellant. The board can proceed with its hearing and ruling today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Vanover?
So, Mr. Chairman, we ask that you deny any more time and remand it back to the Department of Building and Housing. It appears that there was an attempt to make an application for a permit, but they have not picked up their permit and they have not conducted the work, to my understanding.
Okay. So motion is in order to deny more time, remand the property division of Building and Housing for any further action. Motion?
Move. Through the chairman, is there a date on when they attempted to make that application? To Mr. Vanner?
Bear with me. It's August. August 17th, 2023.
I wanted to make sure if it wasn't recently after the December 18th date. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr.
Motion.
Chairman, I will second the motion.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Bradley, second by Mr. Dink.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Dink?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes. Notice will be sent within 2 weeks. Okay, next docket is A 175-23 4712 Clinton Avenue.
Application and fees are in order. Notice of violation is fire damage. Issued on July 18th of 2023. Appeal was received August 21st, 2023, requesting for 60 days to abate the violations. Present for the hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing, Dan Jacobson Law. Will the owner or his or her representative please state your name for the record?
This is Fidel Rodriguez, the owner.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez, solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, let us know what your plans are.
The work has been in progress already. I got a few permits from the contractor to start the work. I've submitted some pictures already of all the cleanup that they did, take out all the walls from the fire damage. I'm sure you have it on your records there that permits were issued.
Okay.
So, based on the contractors, they're saying it could take anywhere from 6 to 8 months to complete the job. All the windows have already been replaced by that contractor. So those are pictures of the job that they started. Right now it's even cleaner. So, and they have windows already in place. And so they're going to start, based on the contract, I think they're saying they got an architect to draw up blueprints so they can, put all the walls and whatever they need to do.
Okay. We'll go to Mr. Vanover.
Mr. Chairman, to Ms. Davis, can you provide me with the violation number?
Sure. Chairman, through the chair to Mr. Vanover. The violation number is V as in Victor, 230-16632.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, there is a permit that was issued on this. However, the violation notice address is 4714 Clinton Avenue, and the permits that were pulled for 4712 Clinton Avenue. So they are not properly attached because they use different addresses. We do not object to a July 17th, 24 date to complete the abatement of the violation notices, with the expectation that the Residential Code of Ohio will take precedent over the continuation of the permit as issued.
Okay. So that should take care of the timing that you're actually asking for, Mr. Rodriguez. So we got a July 17th, 2024 date, 6 months to abate the violations, and the continuation will be through the Ohio Building Code from that point. So motion is in order.
Judge, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
When my mother bought the property back in 1976, of course, the address, I believe, was 4712 Clinton Avenue, and that's what's in the county record. And I'm not sure at what point someone within the county designated 2 addresses for that same house. So it's like they divided the house into 2 separate addresses.
Is this a single family home?
Right, so it's hard for me to determine what's the address for the house. It can't have 2 addresses.
Well, I think Mr. Vanover had asked what was your ask, Mr. Vanover?
Is this a single family home?
Yeah. So is it single family?
It's like a 4-unit apartment. The house is divided into 4 sections.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a dispute to take up with the county, Mr. Chairman. I mean, how they address properties and how they do what they do.
Right.
That's always the $1 million question.
Okay. All right. That's out of our hands. So anyways, we'll deal with what's in front of us.
Time. So when we get more permits, you want to use the 4714 Clinton Avenue?
Mr. Chairman, to the appellate, at this point, I would maintain the 4714, or I'm sorry, the 4712, because that's what your building permit is pulled under.
Right, and that's the permits that I've been asking the contractors to get.
Yeah, I would, when you make application, Mr. Chair, through the chair, when you make application, you can actually put an AKA address on it. I would recommend that you use the 4714 Clinton for the address, and then as an AKA address, use 4712. I'm sorry. I have that first.
Yeah. To the board, to the appellant, the county has the address as 4712 as the main address. So I would ask through the chief building official that 4712 be the address, and then you can add AKAs to that. But the county
Correct.
records parcel at 4712 Clinton Avenue as the documented address. Nate.
Okay. I think we got that clarified. Motion is in order. So move, Mr. Bradley.
Second.
Second, Mr. Dank.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Dink,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yes. Okay, notice will be sent out within 2 weeks. Thank you. Okay, next docket is A 182-23, 1013 Evangeline Road.
Application and fees are in order. Notice of violation is interior and exterior maintenance and no permit. Present for the hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing, Dan Jacobson Law. Would the appellant or his or her attorney or representative please state your name for the record?
Kenneth Knowles.
Okay, Mr. Knowles, you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
he also has someone present here.
Oh.
Mr. Knowles?
And Andre Wilkins.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Wilkins solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead, and who's ever gonna give testimony, go ahead and proceed.
So we have more or less, I'm requesting a bit more time. We've completed 90% of all the outstanding issues. I believe, so the permit, the work was done prior to me purchasing the property, the unpermitted work. So we've applied to permits for that and remedied those issues. I understand there were some problems with the city with getting the electrical permits in time, but I believe that's been resolved now.
Okay, so you do have permits for everything that you're gonna be doing, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. How much time are you looking at?
I'm going to request 120 days, but I think it's going to be less than that. We've done all the windows, smoke detectors, pointing of masonry. We've done the downpipes, chimneys been done, windows replaced, smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in the basement and on the other levels where required. Screen doors, replaced one window, seal and paint basement windows. And replace plumbing. I don't know whether plumbing was in the. There were so many issues here.
Okay.
The plumbing has been replaced as well. Electrical panels been replaced. Wiring. There was a lot of items to get through, and we've just been plowing through them all. So we.
Okay. Is it occupied totally?
It is now. Yes, it was. I don't think it was at the time of inspection.
Wasn't at the time.
No, it is now.
Okay. Mr. Vanover.
So, Mr. Chairman, there's no record of any electrical permit being applied for or issued. So any of the electrical work that has been done has been completed without permit. The replacement of the windows also requires a permit under the Ohio Administrative Code and the local code. And there are no indications that a permit has been applied for either. I will ask Mr. Chairman, to the appellate, when did you take possession of this property?
It was around January 21. And there was a lot of remedial work that we had to do immediately, which has been done, but that wasn't in this list. So that there was a dangerous structure that had to be removed. And
So, Mr. Chairman, this is an investment property. As I've stated previously, the condition of the property influences the purchase price of the property. I don't know what other remedial work was required of a dangerous structure. There's, we have no record.
There was a garage on the property that was.
Okay, so we have no records of permits for any of that. The removal of a garage requires a permit, and any other work may also require it. So we do not object to more time, but we would ask for 2 weeks to get all of the permits, the electrical and the building permit required. And I think that being that this is an occupied structure, we would ask no more than 90 days to make the corrections. This is an investment property. And it is pretty substantial, the list of violations that exist, up to and including smoke detectors or CO2 detectors. I believe it's problematic that this property has been occupied since this notice of violation has been issued. That seems irresponsible to me.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
you have.
Andre Wilkins.
Andre Wilkins want to make a statement.
Mr. Chairman, the property was, when he purchased the property, I was the general contractor and the property management. Immediately since the violations was issued, it was one of the tenants called down with a complaint about something that he wanted done right away. We had him on schedule to do it, so he called out the inspector. Once we got the violation list, immediately all of those things that were necessary to deem the property safe, or that was either missing or was not there. There was smoke detectors. There were not any in the carbon in the basement. So I went through the entire building, making sure that we had smokes, carbons, there was no leaking water or anything of that nature. As far as the electrical permit, on the violation, it requested that a disconnect be put in. The electrician was supposed to pull the permit at the end of the year. He had too many. He's going to pull it this week, so that's not a problem. The plumbing permit has been pulled and the plumbing issues were addressed. The windows were all replaced. That was previous to his purchasing of the property. What was done was window repairs. So windows were not totally replaced by me. They were just broken glass or windows that needed to be repaired. The rest of the structural stuff that was listed on that violation list, we went through, and like Mr. Noah said, it's taking care of about 90% of it. There's a few things left that is just weather things. So he has been adamant about making sure that this was taken care of immediately as soon as it came out.
Well, Mr. Chairman, there's conflicting testimony of we were told that the windows were replaced. We were told that the windows were repaired.
So window screens were replaced.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, there's not been any follow-up inspections from ours requested for this. We would ask that by February 1st, all the smoke detectors and the CO detectors are in place and the required permits are applied and obtained, and that April 17th to abate the violations. Again, I restate that yes, most of these come to us through complaints from the tenants, but based on this laundry list and the admission that there were many issues with this property, I believe that putting occupants in this property prior to the completion of these repairs was irresponsible and a business decision made by the owner. That's what happens when you put tenants into rundown properties. They call the building department.
Can I add something to that? So when I purchased this property, it was fully occupied at the time.
It was occupied.
I'm sorry, and we can look back at the testimony. I thought you had stated that it was not when the violation notice was issued.
It was not fully occupied because tenants had given notice when you made the inspection.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, that is our recommendation is February 1st for the permits and the CO and smoke detectors, and April 17th to completely abate all the violations, with an expectation that it will be inspected within the next 2 weeks by our inspectors.
Okay, so you'll need, Mr. Knowles, also on that, the garage that was taken down, you're going to need to get a permit for that, even though it's gone.
It wasn't standing when I purchased it. I mean, it's rubble, but
it was already down?
Correct, yes.
Mr. Chairman, the removal of the debris and the removal of the slab requires a permit. We have records that there's a property with a garage and there's no longer a garage. Permit and approval and application has to be made.
Okay, and that'll resolve that issue. So motion for February 1st, 2 weeks to get all the required permits and to get an inspection on the property, and to April 17th, 2024, 90 days to abate all the violations. Motion? Moved by Mr. Bradley.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dink.
Mr. Bradley?
Yeah.
Mr. Dink?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes. Okay, the notice will be sent out within 2 weeks. Thank you. Okay, next docket, A 35823 17002 Grovewood Avenue.
Application and fees are in order. Notice of violation is condemnation of the main structure and condemnation of the garage. Issued on October 12th of 2023. Appeal was received October 24th of 2023. Present for the hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing, Dan Jacobson, Law. Would the appellant or his or her attorney or representative please state your name for the record? Calling user, if this is your docket, please hit *6 to unmute your mic.
Hi, this is Jeannie Tambini.
Are you here for this docket?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Tambini, if solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and let us know what your plans are.
Okay, so I wrote a little, this is my first time. So my name is Jeannie Tambini. I'm representing Emmett Incorporated. This is my first time to do an appeal, but I'm familiar with both properties on the docket. Both properties fit in the Collinwood area of Ohio near the Waterloo District. Both properties are storefronts at the bottom and units at the top, about 5,000 usable square foot. We would like to keep this layout as the neighbors voice their needs for storefronts for the neighborhood and units up top. But we bought it through a sheriff's sale, so it was in disarray when we bought the property transferred to us. With mixed use or commercial properties, I think that you need to pull a permit before you pull general permits. You have to get an architect floor plan and layout, which I'm working on. I have one estimate right now, which is really expensive, and it's hard to find an architect to go into a require full rehab property. I don't think they actually do that unless you have any suggestions of who I could go to. So my biggest thing is I'm trying to pull permits before we do the general pull permits, and we have to get the architect first. There's many violations. The first project is to work on the architect and pull the general permits for now. So we have been trying to keep the outside area presentable and making sure that the building are secure from trespassers. Our construction team is small, and we will need extension hopefully through warmer weather to commit to start pulling the permits. I'm just, the progress has been really slow for me since I'm really the only one working on this.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, to the appellant, could you, again, for the record, could you state and spell your name and your relationship to Emmett Incorporated, the titled owner of the properties?
Yeah, so my name is Jeannie Tambini, which is Jeannie. Tambini is T as in Tom, AMBINI, and I'm the executive administrator for the company.
Executive Administrator for Emmett Incorporated?
Yes.
And through the chairman to Ms. Davis, have you received any kind of documentation or authority for Ms. Tambini to act on behalf of Emmett Incorporated?
Through the chair to Mr. Jacobson, no, this board is not in receipt of any authorization for her to speak on this incorporation at this time.
So do you guys need like that I'm also the statutory agent for the company, or I did talk to the inspector, and I asked the inspector if it's okay if I present the case, and maybe there was a mixed communication, but that's why I'm here.
At the time of chair to the representative, at the time of filing, the owner was notified what was required to give authority for anyone to speak on their behalf if they were not going to be present.
So is there a possible way I could like get maybe, this is my first time, so is there like a way that we could reschedule and I could get documents, or have like the Emmett Incorporated be presentable for?
Mr. Chairman, we would not object to hearing the docket with the expectation that permission to speak will be provided prior to ratification in 2 weeks.
Okay, Ms. Tambini, you hear that and understand that? So you need to get the something from the company that allows you to have spoken on this matter, and that needs to be done inside of that 2 weeks for our motion on this to be acceptable. So you can do that, correct?
Sorry, where do I send it to? Is it on the docket, all the information that you sent me, right?
Yes, Ms. Davis is going to give you that information, and that's, I think, where it's going to be sent to originally.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so what?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I may present now.
Okay, go ahead.
Through the chair to the appellate, when did Emmett Incorporated take possession of this property?
So they took possession of, I'm gonna just say both properties. I'm so used to that. 3822.
Okay, and Mr. Chairman to the appellate, you indicated that they bought it at a sheriff's sale?
Yes.
So Mr. Chairman, this is a corporation. It is an investment corporation that is, by all indications, located in Beechwood.
Correct.
According to our notices. And while I recognize, you know, that the appellate spokesperson is the only one working on this, this property did not get into this condition since their acquisition. I mean, they bought it in this condition. And so the lack of resources and the lack of planning for an architect to come in here is, although it exists, the citizens should not be have to deal with this property in their neighborhood in this condition. So these are things That is to say, these are things that should have been sorted out prior to the purchase of the property. If you're going to be if one is going to be an investment corporation that buys properties for the purposes of rehabbing them for profit, the expectation is that they have the means and the resources prior to the purchase to do that. So we would object to an extended period of time. This property was in this condition when it was purchased. The expectation is that investors that purchase distressed properties have the ability and immediately begin to make the corrections. Although the notice of condemnation was not issued until October of 23, the conditions of this building existed, and investors have a responsibility to address them immediately. So we would ask for any period of time be abridged. There are architects that'll do this work. There are engineers that'll do this work. It's not a matter of availability. It's a matter of economics.
So there's no possible way to get extension to get the architect, at least some of the estimates, a couple more, and then pull the permits?
Mr. Vanover.
Well, that's a decision of the board. I mean, the question is, there's no way to get an extension to get the architect. We would object to that because the expectation prior to purchase is that there would have been a design professional established, knowing that this property was going to need this amount of renovation, knowing that it was a commercial property. There's an expectation that the investment company had their architect lined up prior to purchase. So we would object to an extension of time to get a design professional and get more estimates. However, we would not object to more time for the complete renovation and abatement. We would ask for a limited period of time. This is a commercial property, so the expectation would be 30 to 60 days to get it designed and get the permits required, and then another limited amount of time to make the repairs, with the understanding that once the permits are issued, the Ohio Administrative Code and the Ohio Building Code will take over.
Okay, so we put a motion in order of just that you, to get the information into the city for plans for what you're going to be doing within 60 days. That would be March 17, 2024, and to abate all the violations by July 17, 180 days, 2024. Motion?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Bradley, second by Mr. Dank.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Dink?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes. Hey, notice will be sent out within 2 weeks, and don't forget to get that information in to Ms. Davis.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. We have the other building we didn't bring up, which I think is a part of both of that. So I think I'm pretty sure Ms. Tambini, you're on this. This is docket
That's me. Yeah.
359-23 17216 Grovewood Avenue.
Correct.
Application and fees are in order. Notice of violation is condemnation of the main structure issued October 9th of 2023. Appeal was received October 23rd of 2024. I'm sorry, 2023. Present for the hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing, Dan Jacobson Law. Would the appellant or his or her representative please state your name for the record?
Jeannie Tambini.
Okay, Ms. Tambini, this is probably going to be similar, but solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yeah.
Okay, then if there's something different here, go ahead and tell us if you've got the same view as you had on the other property.
Same thing.
Same thing. Okay. Mr. Vanover, we're looking at the same thing here?
We are, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so let's say 60 days, March 17, 2024, to get your plans into the city, and July 17th, 2024, 180 days to abate the violations. Motion?
So move.
So moved by Mr. Bradley,
Second.
second by Mr. Dank.
Mr. Chairman, what was that July date again?
The last date was
Did you say-
July 17th, 2024.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Dink,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
notice will be sent out within 2 weeks on this one also. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next docket is A 35923 17216 Grove. They had that? No, that's the same one. We already opened that. Sorry. Docket A 14223 3201 West 41st Street.
Application and fees are in order. Notice of violation is a vacate order and a condemnation of the main structure issued on June 26th of 2023 and July 3rd of 2023. Appeal was received July 13th of 2023. Present for the hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing, and Jacobson Law. Would the owners or the representative of the owners please state your name for the record?
Northern, yes.
Are you giving testimony?
He's going to be translating a lot of it from, if I can say.
He's gonna be translating for you. I need you to state your name for the record. Did you hear that, Mr. Chairman?
I heard someone is going to be translating for the owner.
Just a few words, if I can understand it.
Okay, he didn't hear your name.
Samer Silmy.
Solman? Is that
Silmy,
it?
S-I-L-M-I.
S-I-O-M-I?
S-I-L-M-I.
I-O-M-I. Okay. All right. I'll give it my best shot. Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would ask preliminarily in this situation, what is the Mr. Solomon's relationship to the owner?
Son-in-law.
Okay, and as the son-in-law, Mr. Chairman, he has the authority to speak on his behalf?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Chairman,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
just for the record, to make sure that that is important, because short of a licensed translator who commits to simply repeating language as spoken, you need to be licensed to do that. So in this case, if he has the authority to speak on his father-in-law's behalf, then that's acceptable.
Okay. All right, so go ahead and proceed and let us know what the plans are.
Your plans.
Plans to pull the permits and fix it whatever it needs. I submitted that land, the contractor submitted the plan about 2-3 days ago, and paid the fees, and waiting for the plan to be approval, and then I'm gonna pull the permits, and the contractor will start working on it, all the renovations.
Okay, so how much time?
I think maybe 3 months to 6 months. I shouldn't
6
be,
months.
shouldn't be.
Three
Okay.
months to 6 months.
How much?
3 months to 6 months.
3 months to 6 months. Okay. Let's get Mr. Vanover in here because we had a vacate order here also. Mr. Vanover?
Mr. Chairman, this property was condemned by Inspector Michael Shockley, who is our representative from our senior initiative inspector, meaning that there was a lot of work and time and conversation regarding this property prior to the condemnation issuance. You can see from the photos provided there are hazardous conditions and dangerous situations within the property, showing that the means of, all means of egress have been compromised. And so the egress from the structure is problematic. There's also within the notice of violation, bearing with me for a moment, there are other structural defects that lend to this property, to the request to vacate. There's, according to the notice of violation, there's no supply of hot water. There's no running water. The heating facilities are damaged. The electrical facilities are damaged or deteriorated. Numerous violations throughout of the floors, the ceilings, the trim, the flooring. Is our position while vacating an owner-occupied home is always the last result. And I'm assuming, I'll pause there and I will ask the question, Mr. Chairman, to the appellate, is this occupied by the, by Mr. Yasin?
No, there are tenants.
Okay.
And Mr. Shockley came there and there was water with good pressure and hot water. Mr. Shockley was at the place about last week, and he checked it and took pictures and he tested the water. There was hot water. The air conditioner, the heat is on.
So, Mr. Chairman, apologies, that was not my understanding. As such, we ask that you uphold the notice of violation for the condemnation. It's not an owner-occupied structure. And based on the conditions, until these things are satisfied, we ask that you uphold the notice to vacate. The photos show short of any other proof, the means of egress are compromised. The electrical system is compromised, along with many other issues.
Then the question is, as far as time, that really you can't, I don't know that you can actually give time for this. And I think that you, especially since they've been working with this, I assume this appellant for a while before the condemnation even came. So, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, we don't object to more time to make the corrections, but we ask that you uphold the condemnation and uphold the vacate order.
We can do that.
Time to fix it while it's empty is substantially reduces the risk.
Okay. All right. So the
time the pictures is fixed from inside.
So you have to get the permits, right? I mean, I'm sure that hasn't been done yet, has it? Do you have any permits, Tom?
No,
I do not have any.
I tried to pull permits. They wouldn't let me pull out a permit because I have to remove it from the condemned list. But from inside, it's all fixed up, and all I have to do from the outside, the porches, the stairs, and replace the electric box.
But the
vacate.
I think they took photos.
And there are new updated pictures for the porch and for the stairs. There are a new. This is the old one. That's not the new one. The minor violation, I tried to fix it. The electric didn't touch because I was waiting for the permit. I didn't know anything. I need to pull the permit first. As soon as I pull the permit, the electric will be done.
Okay, so he doesn't have any permits, so we're going to require that you acquire permits by February 1st, 2 weeks, 2024, and that you abate all the violations by May 17th, 2024, and the vacate order stands. So we find the notice to be as it is, and if along the way, if it's inspected and I guess if the building department can lift the vacate order once they feel that it's safe enough that somebody can occupy it, I guess while you finish it. But I think that right now we're upholding the vacate order. So motion is in order.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dank, second by Mr. Bradley.
Mr. Bradley?
Yeah.
Mr. Dink,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yes. Okay, notice will be sent out within 2 weeks. Thank you.
I have any questions.
You need to pull your permits by February 1st of 2024.
We submitted the plans. What if it doesn't get approved until, because they said the plans have to get approved?
Well, as long as they see it's in the system that you're in compliant, you would be communication with building and housing.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I request a
Does it need-
3-minute recess?
Yes, you sure can. Yeah. For everybody, we're gonna take a little 3 minutes.
So that means you cannot have tenants in the house as long as it's underneath condemnation.
Okay.
Okay?
So
So the tenants have to be removed.
the tenants have to go.
The tenant has to go.
The tenants have to go. Legally, tenants cannot live in a condemned construction.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
What's happening?
6.
Mr. Chairman, I'm back. Thank you.
Okay, very good. We'll move on to the next docket. A 16423, 10714 Drexel Avenue.
Application and fees are in order. Notice of violation is rental registration, no permit, interior and exterior maintenance, and hazardous conditions. Issued on July 18th of 2023. Appeal was received August 14th of 2023, requesting for 12 months to abate the violations. Present for the hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing, Dan Jacobson Law. With the appellant or his or her attorney or representative, please state your name for the record. Mr. Chairman, I do not see a Rodia Thompson in the participant panel.
Okay. Mr. Vanover solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Jacobson.
Through the chairman to Ms. Davis, did notice of today's hearing get returned to the board's file for any reason?
To the chair, to Mr. Jacobson, no.
And to the chairman, the due process, or have you received any form of Through the chairman to Ms. Davis, have you received any form of communication, an email, a voice message, anything physically delivered to you on behalf of this appellant and or docket?
Through the chair to Mr. Jacobson, no.
And through the chairman, the due process requirement of notice have been given to this appellant. The board can proceed with its hearing and ruling today. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Vanover, thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, so this has multiple violations. This is an investment property. The hazardous condition notice violation states that there's a structural beam that's sagging, compromising the structure of the building, along with the failure to register, all of these things. Our address from the appellant, Rondia J. Thompson, has an address of Spring, Texas. As a corporately or as a investment property owned for the purpose of for profit, we would ask that you deny any more time and remand it back to the Department of Building and Housing. There appears to have been permits issued shortly after as a homeowner permit. However, I don't know how that can be accomplished from Spring, Texas, but the appellate is not here to explain that. So we would ask that you deny any more time, remand it back to the Department of Building and Housing, and for further action. There's no records of any inspection since these permits were applied for or pulled either.
Okay. Motion is in order to deny more time, remand the property to the Division of Building and Housing for any further action. Motion?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Dink,
Second.
second by Mr. Bradley.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Dink,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yes. Notice will be sent within 2 weeks. Docket A, 183-23, 12415 Forest Grove Avenue.
Application and fees are in order. Notice of violation is condemnation of the main structure and garage issued on July 19th of 2023. Appeal was received August 15th, 2023, requesting for 12 months to abate the violations. Present for the hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing, Dan Jacobson Law. With the appellant or his or her attorney or representative, please state your name for the record.
Rosalind War.
Okay, Ms. Moore, solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead and let us know what the plans are.
This is currently planned for me to actually move into it. It was a previous rental property. I held on to it prior to COVID. The initial purpose was to move in it myself and complete the repairs. However, I'm taking care of my father full time, and I moved into his property, which substantially affected rental income that I had previously received from it. So I have been, and I intentionally winterized it. A lot of stuff because someone broke in and started taking minor items. I had the furnace removed because of other things that they have kept trying to go in and since then nobody has tried to enter it. And that was my way of trying to prevent them, from wanting to get in it. But this is something that I wanted to repair. I have all of the things in storage that I took out the property, like the furnace. I also have the necessary, furniture and everything to complete the project. It was just more so having everything completed at once so I could move in because it was, like I stated, vandalized prior to that. Things were taken out after I had invested a substantial amount of money for it. And it put me right back at zero. Even as you can see in some of the pictures, I had the stairs worked on. And because it wasn't a solid thing, someone even took the stairs. So with the neighborhood and the thing, it kind of held up progress for me to be able to do it.
Okay, how much time do you think you need?
Well, I was asking between 6 to 12 months because, like I said, I am doing a lot of the work myself until I could do the lump sum would be for the roof. But a lot of the interior repairs, I'm personally completing myself with the paint, with the interior, a lot of the floor sanding, and so forth. So
You're planning on living here?
yes.
Okay.
The only reason, like I said, it wasn't expedited was because I had to move in with a parent to be a full-time caregiver.
Okay. Then you have not pulled any permits yet?
No, I haven't,
Okay.
because I knew the permits would expire before I was able to get to the exact amount. So the things that I'm working on myself personally and that I have a little handyman doing are not permit required. So I've been going in on warmer days to do painting and things like that didn't require a permit at the time.
And you feel you have the resources to bring it up out of condemnation?
Yes, I do, definitely.
Okay. Mr. Vanover.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is a condemnation of the main structure, so all of the permits are required. I mean, this obviously needs more than paint and sanding the floor to make it livable again. And the neighborhood's not going to change. And it doesn't sound like the condition of caring for the family member is going to change. We don't object to more time in these cases. However, 12 months is too long for a property that is vacant and in distress. And the reality of the situation is we can't allow it to drag that long. And further reality is that unless it is permitted, restored, and corrected in a timely fashion, then the conditions in the neighborhood are not going to change. The only thing that keeps people from breaking in to abandoned houses is for them to no longer be abandoned houses.
Well, it's nothing for them to take out of the house, which is where my statement came is, because when I started doing the work, if I put in a cabinet, someone would go in and take care of take out the cabinet. So what I'm saying is not that that it's not going to be restored. It's the fact that if I put in cabinets, someone will go in and take out the cabinet. So if there's no cabinets in there for them to go in and take out of, it's no longer a resource for them to get stuff. And that was just the problem that I was working with. Like every time I would do work, I would get set back because there was no one living in it and I couldn't do everything at once. So what it would take to do everything at once, I would do little projects here and there. Like I would do the cabinets and I would do this and fixtures for the tub, and they would go because that was in there and they see work being done on a property and they would go in and take it. So that's the reason I didn't put the little things in it to prevent that from happening is what I was stating.
Right, and that, Mr. Chairman, through the chair to the appellate, I understand that. What I haven't heard is anything that tells me that it's going to be any different going forward. Is it going to continue if you're doing most of the work yourself and it's going to be doing those little things, and then eventually you're going to have to put cabinets, you're going to have to put a furnace, you're going to have to put, if that total build doesn't happen within weeks, not months, then you're going to continue to have the same problem. And, you'll have to secure the entire structure while you're doing that. And I haven't heard any testimony that leads me to believe that the condition is going to change.
Well, I have been putting myself in position to acquire, like I stated, the cabinets. I do have the light fixtures in storage. I do, and I could produce receipts. I have the light fixtures in storage. I have the thing. My only thing is getting to work to where I can pay for everything to be done at once. So that would not be a problem. I have been acquiring all of the necessary items to rebuild it within a timely fashion to where that would not be the case. So I do have the furnace in storage. I do have, like I stated, the cabinets. I also have light fixtures. I have the necessary beds and so forth to move into it as well to make it, home. I'm unfortunately paying for storage. It also is a mortgage on here. So I definitely have the commitment because I still have to pay a mortgage on the property. The taxes are paid up, mortgage is paid up, and I also maintain insurance. So I do have equity in the property to make me definitely have to fix it up because I still pay monthly out of pocket, even on my fixed income. So I do have a commitment to doing that. I haven't just walked away and not maintained the property. I have people cut the grass. I also have someone go over there on a regular basis to maintain the just to make sure everything is still up and going on it. So unfortunately, I did not have the resources to pay $15,000 and $20,000 at once to do the roof and secure it. So that was my means of doing that, to stay, or attempt to stay compliant.
Mr. Chairman, we don't object to a limited amount of time for permits and no more than 180 days for the complete renovation of the condemned structure.
Okay, so, we'll give you, let's give you 30 days to February 17th, 2024 to obtain all the permits, because this is a condemnation, and 180 days to July 17th, 2024 to abate all violations. Motion? Okay, moved by Mr. Bradley,
Second.
second by Mr. Dank.
And I'm not able to request a little bit more time. Like I stated, that, I mean, it definitely at least an additional 6 months, because
Well,
I'm trying to do it all at once.
When you get your permits and doing it all at once, then you will have the time to be able to do it. As long as you're working on it, you'll be able to continue and complete it. But you need to be working on it. You need to be doing it, and the permits will give you that to be able to do it. Okay.
Okay, could you repeat the dates again? I'm sorry.
But it's July 17th, 180 days, 2024, and February 17th, 30 days, 2024 to obtain the permits.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Dink,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yes. Okay, notice will be sent out to you within 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next docket, A19523. See if I got that address correct. Is it 6056 1 Remington Avenue? Is that correct?
10561.
10561 Remington Avenue. Okay.
Application and fees are in order. Notice of violation is condemnation of the main structure. Issued on January 19th of 2022. Appeal was received August 17th of 2023. Present for the hearing, Tom Vanover, Department of Building and Housing, Dan Jacobson Law. Would the appellant or his or her attorney or representative please state your name for the record?
Colleen Simpson.
What is your relationship to Woodview Home Solutions LLC?
I'm the owner, sole member of the Woodview Home Solutions LLC.
We do have documentation of that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. Ms. Simpson, solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead and let us know what your plans are.
So I have gotten a contractor. I was told that I need to get the property drawings by an architect, which I have done and submitted to the city. My contractor has submitted to get the permits to start the work, and we are pending approval. Initially, the violations were addressed to the previous owner, which was, I think it's Erlin Investment Group, in January 2022. I didn't receive the violations until about August when I submitted the appeal. So that's where we are now. I'm just waiting for the approval for the contractor to start the work.
Okay, how much more time do you think you need?
So the contractor gave me an estimate of between 8 and 12 months to get everything completed. So I'm going by what the contractor is saying.
Okay, but your plans are in, correct?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Vanover.
So, Mr. Chairman, again, this is an investment property. It was condemned at the purchase. Because the condemnation was issued to the appellate statement that it was issued to the previous owner. There's an expectation, as stated, that when one buys condemned and distressed properties, that they already have the resources in place. There is a permit that was applied for in middle of December that is still under review. And we would ask that any time frame given be limited to respond to the permit and to complete abatement of the violations.
Okay, so being that this is a condemnation, they do have the plans in. So we could go with, 180 days, July 17th, 2024, 6 months to abate the violations. So I think everything else is in, right?
Well, they've submitted, Mr. Chairman, we would ask for a time, again, a time period to respond. These, just because they've submitted plans that are if they're adjudicated and they don't respond, then we're kind of held up, so.
Okay, so we give them 2 weeks to obtain the permits.
The February 17th is acceptable, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, sounds good. February 17th, 30 days, 2024 to obtain all the permits necessary, and July 17th, 2024, 180 days, 6 months to abate all the violations. Motion? Moved by Mr. Bradley,
Second.
second by Mr. Dink.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Dink,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yes. Okay, notice will be sent out to you within 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we got all of the dockets in.
Docket
So we're-
A21923 has been withdrawn.
A21923, 10305 Ignatius Avenue has been withdrawn. Okay. Very good. So we move on to approval of resolutions. Dockets A131 through A13523, A14023, A14523, A14623, A15623 through A15823, A22923, A23023, A23223 through A23423, A23923, and A24023. Motion. Moved by Mr. Bradley,
Second.
second by Mr. Dink.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Dink,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yes. Okay, approval of minutes, December 6th, 2023. Are there any additions or corrections?
No.
Motion?
Move.
Moved by Mr.
Second.
Bradley, second by Mr. Dink.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Dink,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yes. Is there anything else to come before us?
No.
Okay, then we are adjourned.
Thank you, sir.
2 weeks.
Have a good
All
one.
righty.